All right, so today we're going to look at this fascinating document from the IRS
Oh, yeah.
all about their move to the cloud,
Interesting.
specifically how they're going to be handling their tech.
Okay.
It's called a performance work statement, a PWS,
Mm-hmm.
and it lays out their plan for implementing FinOps.
I've heard of that.
And we've got our expert here
It's me.
to help us figure out all the jargon and really unpack what it means for taxpayers like you.
So what's interesting here is that the IRS is taking a very strategic approach to this.
Okay.
This PWS, it's not just like a technical document. It's
Yeah.
really like a blueprint for how they're going to manage
Right.
their cloud spending and resources.
So FinOps is like
Yeah,
budgeting for the cloud,
pretty much.
making sure that they're spending their money wisely.
Yeah, think of it as like the IRS becoming a savvy cloud shopper.
Okay.
They're evaluating their needs,
Uh-huh.
optimizing their resources, and ultimately making sure that those taxpayer dollars are
Okay.
being used wisely.
So it's not just about saving money.
Right.
It's about making sure that they're spending smarter.
Exactly.
So why now?
Yeah.
What's driving this whole interest in FinOps?
Well, remember the Inflation Reduction Act?
Oh, yeah.
That gave a ton of funding to the IRS to modernize their IT.
Uh-huh.
This PWS is a direct result of that act.
Okay.
It's outlining how they're going to use the funding
Okay.
to improve efficiency,
Yeah.
enhance taxpayer services, and really bring the IRS into the 21st century.
Digitally.
Yeah.
So making our lives a little bit easier when tax season rolls around.
That's the hope.
This PWS is pretty dense. Where should we even begin?
So it's broken down into two main tasks.
Okay.
Analyze and design a FinOps practice,
Okay.
and then implement FinOps practices.
Got it.
Let's start by understanding what they're trying to do in that first phase.
All right. So analyze and design a FinOps practice.
Right.
What does that even mean?
So it's like laying the groundwork. They have to take stock of their current cloud usage,
Yeah.
figure out what applications they're running,
Mhm.
who's in charge of them, and how much they're spending.
Okay.
Kind of like taking inventory before
Right.
you go shopping.
I would imagine the IRS's cloud footprint is pretty massive.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
They're dealing with millions of taxpayers,
Yeah.
tons of sensitive data.
Right.
It's a complex web of systems and applications
Okay.
spread across multiple platforms.
Quick way.
Probably AWS, Azure, those big ones.
Makes sense.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They need to develop what they're calling a stakeholder persona engagement plan.
Okay. That sounds
Yeah.
a little bureaucratic,
Yeah,
but I'm sensing it's important.
it is.
So tell me more.
It's all about getting everybody on the same page.
Oh, wait.
This plan makes sure they're gathering input from everybody.
Like who?
IT staff,
Huh.
different departments within the IRS, even taxpayers themselves.
Wow.
They're recognizing that FinOps isn't just about technology
It's also about people.
and how they interact with the systems. So they're making sure that everybody has a voice at the table
Yes.
and that this FinOps practice actually meets everybody's needs.
That's the idea.
And one of the key aspects of this is identifying unfinished cloud projects that are consuming resources.
Oh, yeah. We've all got those.
I was just thinking that, like
Wow.
all those unfinished projects
Yeah.
cluttering up my desk.
It's a great analogy,
Ah.
and it's a huge opportunity for cost savings.
Okay. How so?
Well, if they can identify and streamline
Right.
those unfinished projects,
Yeah.
they can free up all those valuable cloud resources
Mm-hmm.
and avoid unnecessary expenses.
So it's like spring cleaning for their cloud.
Exactly.
Out with the old, in with the efficient.
That's it.
Now, this brings us to another crucial part of the PWS,
Okay.
and that's the cost decision framework.
Right. So this framework is all about making informed, data-driven decisions
Okay.
about cloud investments.
It's like a set of guidelines
Mhm.
that'll help them evaluate their options.
Okay.
And make sure they're choosing the most cost-effective solutions.
So let's say, for example,
Yeah.
the IRS wants to move all of their information returns
Ah.
off of their own servers
Right.
and onto the cloud.
That's a perfect example.
How would this cost decision framework come into play?
So the framework would guide them through a cost analysis,
Okay.
comparing the cost of keeping those servers where they are
Yeah.
versus moving them to the cloud.
Okay.
They consider things like storage,
Right.
security, ongoing maintenance
Right.
to determine if the cloud actually makes financial sense.
Because it might not.
Exactly.
Sometimes it might just be better to stay with what you've got.
It's about weighing the pros and cons.
Right.
And this careful approach is really evident throughout this entire document.
Yeah.
They're not just like jumping on the cloud bandwagon.
Right.
They're thinking about every decision to make sure they're getting the most value for their money.
Which ultimately benefits taxpayers like us.
Exactly.
Now, this PWS also gets into some really specific details.
Yeah.
About the technical requirements for this FinOps initiative.
Yeah, and one detail that stands out to me is that all deliverables have to comply with Section 508.
Section 508.
Of the Rehabilitation Act.
Refresh my memory.
Right. So Section 508 ensures that all electronic and information technology developed or purchased by the government is accessible to people with disabilities.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So they're making sure that everybody can use these new cloud-based systems.
Regardless of ability.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's just a real commitment to inclusivity.
And speaking of inclusivity, they're also incredibly thorough when it comes to security.
Oh, yeah. They've laid out a multi-layered approach to protect sensitive taxpayer information.
Yeah, because we're talking about incredibly sensitive financial data here.
Of course.
So what kind of measures are we talking about?
They're implementing a lot of security protocols.
Like what?
Encryption of data at rest and in transit. Compliance with FISMA FedRAMP and NIST standards.
Okay.
Rigorous background checks for anybody who handles sensitive information.
Sounds like they're building Fort Knox.
That's the idea.
To safeguard taxpayer data.
Exactly.
That's impressive.
Yeah. They're taking a comprehensive approach to security.
Gotta hit all the bases.
Yeah, and remember we talked about how the IRS is likely using multiple cloud platforms?
Right, AWS, Azure.
Exactly, and managing a multi-cloud environment is tough.
How so?
You need to make sure the security policies are consistent, manage costs across all those platforms, and avoid vendor lock-in.
So this PWS shows that they're really aware of those challenges.
Yes, and that they're addressing them head on.
It's like they're playing digital chess.
Yeah.
Anticipating all the moves.
Exactly.
All the counter moves to make sure that their cloud infrastructure is secure and efficient.
That's a great way to put it.
So they're not just reacting to the immediate challenges of adopting the cloud.
Yeah.
They're also planning for the long term.
Yes.
They're building a foundation.
For a more resilient, secure, and efficient future.
And I think on that note, we're going to take a break.
Sounds good.
Let our listeners kind of digest this first part of our deep dive.
All right.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
From the basics of FinOps to stakeholder engagement to the IRS's approach to security.
That's right.
When we come back, we'll delve even deeper into the implementation phase.
That's right.
Exploring how they're going to make this vision a reality.
Looking forward to it.
So welcome back to our deep dive into the IRS's FinOps journey.
Yeah, in the first part, we really looked at that analyze and design phase.
Right, and now we're moving on to the implementation phase.
Right, where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly, and one of the key goals of this phase is cost transparency.
Right.
So cost transparency, what does that even mean?
Well, it's about making it really clear how much they're spending on all these different cloud services and applications. And they want to make that information available, not only to decision makers within the IRS, but potentially even to the public.
Oh, wow. So like an expense report for the cloud?
You got it. It's everyone can see where the money's going.
Right. So it's about accountability.
Absolutely.
Making sure taxpayer dollars are being used responsibly.
Exactly. And this commitment to transparency is really highlighted in another interesting detail in the PWS.
What's that?
It's the requirement that the contractor has to provide a plan of action and milestones, or POA&M.
A POA&M. Break that down for me.
Yeah, so it's basically a roadmap for fixing any security problems that they find during assessments.
Okay.
So it outlines what actions the contractor is going to take to fix those problems.
Oh, okay.
And when they're going to do it.
So it's not enough to just say, hey, we found a problem.
Nope.
You got to have a plan to fix it.
You got it.
And you're held accountable.
Absolutely. It's all about being proactive.
And continuously improving.
That's right.
Now, speaking of risk management,
this
PWS goes into a lot of detail about security.
Oh, yeah. They're really serious about protecting that taxpayer data.
Yeah, which makes sense given all that personal and financial information.
Of course.
So what kind of security measures are we talking about?
Well, they require strong encryption to protect the data, both when it's stored and when it's being transmitted. They have to comply with all sorts of security standards, like FISMA, FedRAMP, NIST.
Okay.
And they also have to do rigorous background checks
Right.
on anyone who's handling that sensitive information.
So like we said before, it's like Fort Knox for our tax data.
Exactly. They're not messing around.
And it makes sense because the consequences of a data breach could be huge.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not just about losing money.
Right.
It's about people's privacy.
Absolutely.
And maintaining that public trust.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technology either.
Okay.
They also require specialized security training for all the contractors' employees.
So they're building a culture of security.
Yes.
Where everyone knows how important it is
Exactly.
to protect this information
Correct.
and follow all the rules.
It's like they're building a human firewall.
Right on top of all the tech stuff.
Exactly.
Now, we talked before about how the IRS is probably using multiple cloud platforms.
Yeah, like AWS and Azure.
Right, and that can get complicated?
It can.
So does the PWS say anything about how they're going to manage that?
Yeah, they specifically talk about contractor boundary protection.
Contractor boundary protection. What's that?
Well, it's about setting up those clear boundaries.
Okay.
Between the contractor systems and the IRS's systems.
Okay.
No matter which cloud platform they're using.
So it's like a digital moat around the IRS's data.
I like that analogy.
Preventing any unauthorized access from the contractor.
That's the idea.
Okay, so that involves things like firewalls.
Yes.
Intrusion detection systems. Strict access controls.
All of the above.
So only authorized people can get in.
That's right.
No matter where the data is stored.
Exactly.
Now, another interesting thing I noticed is that all the work has to be done at the contractor site.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, there could be a few reasons.
Like what?
Maybe it's about keeping a tighter control over that sensitive data.
Right, you don't want any leaks.
Exactly.
Because of lack security somewhere else.
It's got to be Fort Knox all the way.
Right. But then how do they know the contractor's really qualified?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the PWS addresses that. They have a whole set of requirements for contractor system oversight and compliance.
So they're not just taking the contractor's word for it.
Nope, they want proof.
So it's like a watchdog.
Yeah.
Constantly sniffing around, looking for trouble.
Right.
What kind of proof are we talking about?
So the IRS requires the contractor to submit detailed security assessments.
Okay.
They have to undergo regular vulnerability scans, and they have to participate in continuous monitoring activities.
Wow, so they're really holding the contractor accountable.
Absolutely, throughout the entire project.
And to add to that accountability, they can also do on-site inspections.
That's right.
Of the contractor's facilities and systems.
Exactly. They're making sure everything is up to code.
It's like a health inspection.
I like that analogy.
But for digital security.
That's right.
Now let's talk about how the contractor handles the IRS data.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways there?
Well, the PWS makes it very clear
that
the contractor is just a bailee for hire.
Bailee for hire? What does that even mean?
It means they're responsible for the data.
Okay.
Storing it, protecting it as directed by the IRS, but they don't own it. And they can't use it for anything else.
So they're like a caretaker.
Exactly.
They're looking after it, but they don't get to decide what happens to it.
Right. And when the contract ends, or if the IRS tells them to, they have to either return the data or destroy it securely.
So it's like digitally shredding it.
Exactly. No trace left behind.
Wow. They're really thorough.
They are.
But it makes sense given how sensitive this data is.
Absolutely.
Now, another thing that caught my eye is how much emphasis they put on where the data is located.
Right. Data location's a big deal.
Yeah, especially with cloud computing.
Exactly, because the data could be anywhere.
Right. Doesn't have to stay within borders?
Nope, not at all.
So what does the PWS say about that?
They're very specific.
Okay.
Everything, the headquarters, the infrastructure, the servers, the data, all of it has to be physically located in the United States or its territories.
So no outsourcing to other countries?
Nope, they're keeping it all under U.S. jurisdiction.
And that makes sense given the legal and privacy issues.
Absolutely.
They want to be in control of that taxpayer information.
They're minimizing those risks.
By keeping the data here.
Exactly.
Okay, so they're taking all these precautions.
Right.
But what happens if there's a security breach?
Well, they've got a plan for that, too.
They do.
The PWS outlines exactly what to do.
Okay, so it's like a digital disaster recovery plan?
You got it.
Okay, so what does it say?
Well, first of all, the contractor has to report any security incident to the IRS within 1 hour.
1 hour, that's fast.
It is.
Why so quick?
Because it's all about damage control.
Okay.
The faster they know about it,
right,
the faster they can respond
Yeah.
and hopefully contain it.
right, and prevent it from spreading.
Exactly.
And hopefully limit the damage
It's a race against time.
to put out that fire.
Exactly.
So they have this plan.
Right.
But how do they make sure everyone knows what to do?
Well, they've outlined specific roles and responsibilities for different teams, both within the IRS and the contractors organization.
So it's like a fire drill,
Yes,
but for cybersecurity?
exactly. Everyone knows who to call
Okay.
and what to do.
So once the immediate crisis is over,
Yeah.
what happens next?
Well, they conduct a post-incident review
Okay.
to figure out what happened,
Right.
how they handled it, and what they can learn from it.
So it's like an after-action report.
Exactly.
Make sure it doesn't happen again.
That's right.
Now, this whole process,
Yeah.
from the planning to the implementation to the oversight,
It's a lot.
it sounds incredibly complicated.
It is.
So how can the IRS manage all of this themselves?
So they're going to need help.
From contractors.
Exactly.
And the PWS acknowledges that.
It does.
It lays out how they're going to work with those contractors.
Right. And how they're going to maintain oversight.
Okay, so it's not just about hiring someone and hoping for the best.
Nope. They're going to be very hands-on.
Making sure the contractor meets those requirements.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of communication and collaboration.
To make sure everyone is on the same page.
Exactly.
And to make extra sure the contractor's doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
They're also going to have independent assessments and audits.
That's right. They're not just trusting the contractor.
So it's like a checks and balances system.
Exactly.
To verify everything is on the up and up.
That's the idea.
Okay. So what happens if the contractor messes up?
Well, the PWS outlines the circumstances where the IRS can terminate the contract.
Oh, wow. So it's like a digital divorce.
That's a good way to put it.
But hopefully a more amicable one.
Right.
So there's a clear exit strategy if things go south.
The IRS can protect its interests.
And the security of its systems.
That's right.
Now, there's one more thing in the PWS that I found interesting.
Okay.
And that's the mention of FOIA requests.
Yes. Freedom of Information Act requests.
What are those?
So those are requests from people or organizations who want access to government records.
Okay.
And that can be tricky.
How so?
Because sometimes that information is sensitive.
Right. So the IRS has to balance transparency with protecting people's privacy?
Exactly.
So how do they handle that?
Well, the PWS says
Yeah.
that the contractor can't disclose any IRS data
Okay.
to anyone who makes a FOIA request.
So all those requests go straight to the IRS.
That's right.
And they handle it from there.
Exactly.
Following all the rules and regulations.
Absolutely.
So the contractor is totally walled off
Right.
from that whole FOIA process.
To prevent any accidental disclosures.
Right, and protect the IRS from any legal trouble.
Exactly.
It's like a chain of custody for that sensitive information.
That's a good way to think about it.
And along those same lines,
Yeah.
what about electronic discovery or e-discovery
Yes.
in legal proceedings?
Yeah, that can be tough.
Because you're searching through mountains of data.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Exactly. So how does the PWS address that?
Well, it outlines the contractor's responsibilities.
Okay, so what are they?
So the contractor has to help the IRS
Okay.
with any e-discovery efforts.
So they're like a digital legal team.
Yes, ready to help the IRS.
Navigate all the legal stuff.
That's right.
It sounds like they've thought of everything.
They've tried to.
Every challenge, every risk.
Yeah, they're being very thorough.
With safeguards in place.
Absolutely.
To mitigate those risks.
They're taking this very seriously.
Yeah, they're not just dipping their toes into the cloud.
Nope.
They're diving right in.
They have a comprehensive strategy. Focused on security, transparency, and accountability.
And that's where this PWS is really impressive.
It is.
It's like a roadmap for a successful cloud migration.
That's a great way to put it.
So as we wrap up this second part, I'm really struck by how complex all of this is.
It is.
It's a huge shift for the IRS.
It is.
With big implications for them and for taxpayers.
Absolutely.
But it shows that they're really committed to modernizing.
Right.
And recognizing that the cloud is the future.
If they want to provide efficient and effective services.
But it's not just about adopting the technology.
No.
It's about doing it responsibly.
Right.
With a focus on security and transparency.
And accountability.
And that's what this PWS really highlights.
It's a roadmap for a secure and responsible migration.
Exactly. All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into the IRS's FinOps journey.
We've uncovered a lot about their plan.
Right. All that careful planning, the security measures.
Yeah, as they move everything to the cloud.
And it's clear that they're not just like jumping into this blindly.
No.
They're really thinking it through.
They're approaching it carefully.
Yeah, with all those details. All that foresight.
It's impressive.
So I think now it's time to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And focus on the why.
The why.
Yeah, like what does this all mean for us as taxpayers?
Exactly. How is this going to change our experience?
So paint me a picture of this future.
Okay, so imagine that filing your taxes is as easy as online banking.
Whoa.
You can access payer information, make payments, talk to the IRS, all through this personalized digital portal, all powered by the cloud.
That sounds almost enjoyable.
Right.
And I never thought I'd say that about taxes.
I know, it's a big shift.
So it's all about making things more user-friendly.
Exactly.
Or efficient.
Yeah, using technology to make our lives easier.
Yeah, instead of dreading tax season.
Right.
Maybe we'll actually look forward to it.
Okay, maybe not look forward to it.
Okay, well, maybe not that far.
But at least not fear it as much.
Yep, less stress.
Exactly.
Now, I know we've been talking a lot about taxpayers.
Yeah.
But what about the IRS?
Right. How does this change things for them?
Yeah, internally.
Well, it gives them so much more data.
Okay.
They can see exactly how they're spending their money, how they're using their resources.
And that helps them make better decisions.
Exactly.
About allocating those resources.
Right. They can prioritize projects, make sure everything is running as efficiently as possible.
So it's like a real-time dashboard.
Yeah.
For their whole IT infrastructure.
That's a great way to put it.
So instead of reacting to problems,
they can anticipate them.
And make changes before they become big issues.
Exactly.
And hopefully that frees up some resources.
It should.
So they can focus on other things.
Like better taxpayer services.
Yeah, right.
Or tackling those really complicated tax issues.
So it's not just about saving money.
It's about using that money more effectively.
And make things better for everyone.
Exactly. A win-win for taxpayers and the IRS.
Wow. This FinOps thing is sounding like a big deal.
It is.
It's more than just technology.
It's a whole new way of thinking about taxes.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We've learned so much.
About the IRS's plans for the future.
Yeah, their strategy, their commitment to security.
And how it's all going to impact taxpayers.
This PWS really shows how forward-thinking they are.
It does.
They're embracing innovation, using the cloud to make things better for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I got to say, I'm feeling optimistic.
Me too.
About the future of taxes.
It's an exciting time.
Yeah, the IRS is changing.
And hopefully for the better.
So to all our listeners out there, stay curious.
Keep learning.
And until next time.
Happy diving.
Happy diving.